All right. What is up, everyone? Got a lot of people hanging out in the chat. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here and hanging out and celebrating 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is still like really, really hard to believe, honestly. It's pretty wild. Like I started creating YouTube videos 7 or 8 years ago. I never thought I would be like a content creator per se. I definitely never thought I would like really build an audience until the last couple of years. And a big part of it's just being around like other people who are awesome content creators and learning from them, and just kind of figuring out stuff on my own, experimenting with stuff as well. See a couple of congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks y'all for hanging out. Yeah, what we'll do is just do an open Q&A. Ask me anything. I'm pretty open. There's a couple of questions that people have already posted, so I will start with that. Kunal, I appreciate it. 100K, thank you. Yes. Yeah, so I can just kind of kick it off. It's pretty informal. Just whatever questions you all have, feel free to throw them in the chat. Mr. India says, do you need a front-end framework? I do a lot of like vanilla JavaScript demos, and I have a lot of fun with those. But I would never, like, there's never actually an application that I would build without a front-end framework. Now, the opposite of that is like if you use like a server-side rendered like Node.js application with using a templating engine like EJS or something like that. I think that's definitely something that you can do, and you can do like just minimal JavaScript on the front end to add functionality. But I personally I don't really have scenarios for me that I don't use front end framework. So yeah, I would say, do you need a front end framework? Like from a job perspective and then from building things, I would say yes, to be honest. Siddhartha asked how to get a remote job. I think this probably goes with just jobs in general. I think the lucky thing is like a lot more jobs are becoming remote. So you're in a good position of like, hopefully there's more opportunities. But getting remote jobs is so much about like your presence online. I think the big difference is between just applying blindly to jobs, which you can just submit a resume. Knowing somebody at a company that can kind of testify for you and your skills that you'd be a good fit for the company is great. That makes a huge difference. Also, like I'm a big fan of what content has done for me in my career. Like if I were to go apply for a job and they want to know if I'm a good communicator and teacher, like they can go watch 350 videos that I've done on YouTube and see how I am with that sort of stuff. So networking, being involved in the community, whatever community makes sense for you, Twitter, Discord, Slack, anything like that. Build a couple of projects to make sure you have stuff to talk about in your resume and your interviews. And yeah, networking and stuff to kind of prove your value is huge. Revivals, Python, Django, which language is better pairing? I am not a Python person. I actually taught Python and Flask in a boot camp, and but I'm just not a Python person at all. I'm JavaScript all the way. So if you ask me to choose a language, it's 100% going to be 100% going to be JavaScript. Yeah. Jason Nutt is in the chat. What's up, Jason? Learn more than you know from you. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That is like, it's really, really special. To be like 100K is kind of a vanity number to some extent, but it's also like looking at that and thinking about like all the positive comments that I get from people of like, hey, you really helped me learn, or you helped me get my job, or you helped me do this thing in my career. Like that sort of stuff is huge for me. So 100K is a vanity number. Like it's really just a number, but seeing the impact that 100K has had is, I think, the more important part for me. But I am looking forward to getting the YouTube plaque or the play button. From Assad, congrats on the 100K. Thank you. How to move career from developer to next level? What are the possible paths? Well, at some point you'll start to have either just internal conversations with yourself or with a manager or team of like, do you want to continue to be an IC, an individual contributor, or do you want to go down a management route? Good thing at tech is like usually there's ways to progress in your career and stay an IC, stay an individual contributor. A lot of industries, like you kind of have to go the management route. But I think in tech, you have lots of options either way. So I think first is kind of thinking about, do you want to go into management? Then what goals do you have in your career? Like what kind of stuff do you want to do? Like you can do the stereotypical like software developer, senior software developer, and then whatever the level after that is. And I think having conversations with your manager to ask what things you need to be doing to get to that next level and communicating that you want to get to the next level is huge. That plays a big part of it. Like just having those conversations makes a big difference. You could also look at other types of roles. Like you could be a business analyst if you're more in data, or you're more want to know how things work from a business perspective than the actual tech behind it. You could go into management. You could go into something more content created or content creation related, like a developer advocate or something like that. You can do documentation. You can just do video. You can just do articles as a writer for a company. So there's lots of different paths. I say like pay attention to the people around you in the community and see what they do and see what interests you most. Anton, hey, worst and best advice you have received. Best advice I've received, one of them is definitely to invest in yourself. And like this at the time, it was a monetary. It was money related, where I've always been like super cheap. And my mentor at the time was like, like if you want to learn to build mobile apps, invest in a good phone for you to test on, right? And so some of it's investing in myself money, just not being so cheap all the time, but most of it's like investing in yourself skill wise. So if you feel like there's a gap that's preventing you from getting to the next level, go and target that thing and improve on it and find ways to study up on it or practice it or improve whatever it is. So investing in yourself, I think, is huge. But the addition to that is like putting yourself first most of the time. Like make sure you're taking care of yourself mentally, your family mentally. That will help you become a better employee, a better content creator, whatever you do. So as long as you take care of yourself first, that usually leads to good things otherwise. Avnish, what's going on? How much time do you spend daily on content creation? An hour or two, probably. So I've got a couple hours in the morning that, depending on the day, I do more or less of that time on content, but it could easily be 2 hours. So 1 to 2 hours a day, I would say. System setup, please. That's a detail thing. I've got some on my website. I've got a setup page. Can somebody grab? I don't even know. Let me see if I can actually grab that link. I don't know what it is. Is it what's the uses link? So I'll post the uses link in the chat. But I've got 2 monitors. I've got my Canon M50 mirrorless camera. I've got the Shure SMB mic. I've got key lights from Elgato. I've got a Logitech Brio and a Logitech C920 webcam. I've got a Stream Deck for buttons and stuff. I've got a dock that I plug everything into. Got an adjustable desk that goes up and down a lot. There's a lot of stuff here. Yeah. Toy here asks, where am I from? So I am currently located and from Memphis, Tennessee in the United States. Mac is asking, channel's 10th anniversary is coming this October. Maybe a web dev JS related Kahoot to celebrate it. Yes, absolutely. We'll see if I can get Mac to help me schedule that. Lucario is asking, can we consider Django as web development? Absolutely, 100%. Like yes. I don't even think I need to clarify that 100% it is web development. Sunil, how did you start your YouTube journey? So I was at Microsoft and I was giving these workshops with students on game development, and I was teaching them the same things over and over again, and I would have the same questions over and over again. So I figured if I could create a series of videos that they could go and reference, I wouldn't have to continue to watch answer the exact same question over and over again. So that was the inspiration for getting started on YouTube. I created like 17 videos on game development with Construct 2. And then I started to do a few more videos on at Microsoft. I don't even really know why I did, to be honest. And then I didn't touch it for a few years. And then I got back into this seriously 3 years ago or so. Maybe it's been 4. I'm not sure. But it's been a few years. And anyway, so I got started by just trying to solve a problem of not answering questions, all the same questions over and over again. If you were given a choice for OSs from Canal, what would you go for other than Windows, and why? Well, I'm on Mac, so that would be the one. I think Mac has the benefits of Linux with like a more finished product on top of it. If I was on Windows, like I know they've got Windows subsystem for Linux, which has made a lot of progress. The last time I tried it, it still wasn't super convenient. So yeah, I would stick with Mac. From Play Store, I'm one of your subscribers. Thank you. Could you answer this question? What does a React developer do mostly? Well, that kind of stuff will change, but React developers would spend time working on front end applications. Ideally, there would be like a design team or a design person in a team that would hand off a design to a developer, and then they would go and actually build that thing. So React developers would create React components, style them to make sure they look good, make sure things are accessible on the front end, have connections to backend APIs to do CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just mainly focusing on the front end, and then full stack developers would do backend as well. Maximilian, congrats, learning so much about web dev from you. Thank you. Opinion on backends for native iOS, Android app with web app if it's Firebase. Any opinions on non-Google Fang owned backends? I like, for the most part, I think your backend is not necessarily, my backend preference doesn't change based on it being a native app versus a web app. I don't think. Nothing comes to mind immediately. So I would say like whatever backend makes the most sense. If you're looking for a Firebase alternative that is not Fang owned, Supabase is one that I've been extremely excited about recently, and it's an open source alternative to Firebase. They just got funding of $30 million, which is super exciting. So I would check out Supabase, especially if you're familiar with the concept of what Firebase offers you. Supabase is pretty sweet. Code with Anya. Anya Kubo is in the chat. What's up, Anya? Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and hanging out. Anya just crossed over 100,000 as well. We are, I think you said date, I think dare, I say we are code twins. Yes. So that's pretty cool. And then Adrian Twarog is a little bit ahead. So he's crossed. Eric is a little bit behind us and coming up on 100K. So it's an exciting time in the content creator space, especially in YouTube. So yes. And if people have not checked out Anya, you absolutely should go right now and do that. Jason, YouTube stuff scrolls in a weird way. Like when I start to scroll, it like jumps me down all the way to the bottom, which is not what I want. Will Johnson's in the chat. What's up? Tech Zeal is asking dog's name. So this is Lily. Behind me, I've also got Sevi, who you'll see in other videos. Jason, do you believe one can get noticed without video content? Being involved, getting well-known in communities and sub-communities for specialties. I have YouTube block in my mind. Well, one, there's written content, so you can do that. You could do a blog. You could just be really active on Twitter. You could just be really active in a Discord. There's tons of different ways to get noticed that don't involve being on video. I obviously am a fan of video. It's been huge in my career, but there's tons of other ways to make a name for yourself, to build a brand, to get awareness for the stuff that you do outside of that. Play Store is React used to develop larger websites. What advantages does React have compared to platforms like WordPress? So React, yeah, you can build small, large, you can build anything with React on the front end. WordPress is a CMS, a content management system that also has like a built-in framework for your front end. If you're using React for your front end, you're not using WordPress, except you can use WordPress to do just your data, and you can use it as a headless CMS and just store your data in WordPress and then access that data from your front end. So inside of a React application, for example. So React is purely front end. WordPress is a CMS that also gives you the like tools and themes and plugins and stuff to build out your front end as well. Avnish, average 2 hours. Yep, that's what I would say. Will Johnson is hanging out. Thank you, Will, for hanging out for a little bit. Kunal, you both are YouTube, JavaScript, sub count twins. Yes. My VS Code theme used. I use a lot of them. I use Cobalt 2. I use Code Stacker. I use the Level Up Tuts. I use Night Owl by Sarah Drasner. She's got a new one for Fortnite, which is pretty cool. I wish Eric was here from our Discord. He just created one that was something Night Synth, I think, which is pretty cool. Dracula is another one. Material theme. There's lots of really good ones out there. I said Nicholas sent the lights on command. Unfortunately, I don't have like command set up with YouTube streaming, so that's not going to work. Hello World Programming. First of all, congrats. Just saw the Hashnode cards, and how much will you rate for such projects out of 5? And finally, what do you think about projects like these? If you're talking about the Hashnode cards project that was shared in the Discord, I mean, that's a pretty sweet project. I think one of the things I talked about on my podcast yesterday with Amy is me feeling like I rarely finish the things that I start. So I feel like I don't have many projects that are actually like useful to people. And so I'm really impressed when people finish something to that extent. So I would give that a 5 out of 5. Mac talking about WebRTC, WebSockets, Play Store. You deserve 100K faster than it took. I wish you luck on getting to 2K. Thank you. Average YouTube earnings. So if we just do ads, it's somewhere between, for the last 6 months, 1,000, and I got 1 month up to like 2,500. So YouTube ads is a nice way to easily make some money. It's not the way to make a ton of money, but it is nice to have some of that side income. And then I supplement that with sponsor videos. So those pay pretty well. And then eventually courses if I can get my next one together. Mahir, is Angular tough to learn? I would say Angular is tough from the perspective of it's got more in it that you have to learn that's specific to Angular than in React or Vue. So it comes with TypeScript, so you have to learn that. It comes with the whole module system, and it comes with like basically like class-based components. And I think there's more to get started with it, but I also think it gives you some pretty good boundaries on what you should do and how to organize your code and that sort of stuff. So I actually, I love Angular for that reason, but I would say it's tougher to learn than than React, Vue's fault. My favorite YouTube channel. Wow, Colby Fayok has, like, I love watching his stuff. So I love watching Colby. Almost everything he puts out, I watch. Better.dev from my friend Chris Sev is amazing as well. I could go back to, like, I mentioned this earlier. It's Brad Traversy's birthday from Traversy Media. So shout out to Brad. Happy birthday. And when I was learning web development, I was watching every video that he had, like every single day, every week. So I watched a ton of his stuff. Anya, that I mentioned earlier, has some amazing stuff on game development, amongst other things, which has been a blast to watch, and just like fun content too. Amy, who is co-host of the Self Teach Me podcast, has amazing content as well. She's not, she doesn't have a huge audience, but her stuff is like really, really top notch. Gopinath, when to choose REST and when to choose GraphQL. Your thoughts on GraphQL? I'm currently learning GraphQL. GraphQL is great. I think, like, when do you choose it? Especially if you're making different kinds of queries that need different pieces of information. GraphQL is really helpful for that. Also, like the self-documentation by having input types and return types with your GraphQL server defined means now you've got a very structured piece of documentation that you can share with people, which is nice. So I think those are definitely some of the benefits. I would definitely encourage you to learn GraphQL. It's becoming more and more popular. I think it's definitely something that's going to be helpful for you in your career. Egg Boule plus WebRTC and WebSocket, or please WebRTC and WebSocket. Which one is better? I want to write a live video. I could not answer that question, to be honest. I don't have that level of experience and expertise, so unfortunately I can't help you there. Amnesia's getting as famous as James. Yeah. What advice can... This is hard to keep up with, by the way. Oh, I totally forgot in the VS Code themes. I forgot the Shades of Purple from Amada Waste as well. Venom Raiders, what advice can you give front-end developers with regards to using frameworks? Like, just build stuff. Learn a framework. It doesn't really matter which one. All of them have tons of similarities. If you learn one, you can learn the other. I recommend spending time with vanilla JavaScript first, like build a few things with vanilla JavaScript to experience what that's like, and then dive into a framework. So that's my personal opinion. Thoughts on Google Analytics? I don't know that much about Google Analytics, to be honest. It like the most standard way to track stuff on your site, but other than that, I don't know. Gio, congrats on the 100K. Thank you. Kunal, would I call myself an introvert? Were you when you started your channel? I have, the majority of my personality, I would say, is extroverted. I've always been, like, especially around my friends, like the loudest one in the group. I like pretty outspoken, pretty funny, I think. Although I do have moments, like I don't really like small talk, so I can be very introverted in a social scenario where I don't really know people and we don't have anything to talk about. Like, I just don't feel like wasting my time talking about nothing. So around people I'm comfortable with, I'm excited to talk to. I'm like the loudest person, most outspoken in the room most of the time. For people that I'm just not comfortable with, don't really know, and don't really have much in common, I'm a lot quieter. So that depends. I wouldn't say that I had an extroverted personality in terms of creating YouTube videos, and that enabled me to create YouTube videos. I wouldn't say that. I didn't have experience, and it came like I now am comfortable speaking on camera and recording videos because I've done it so many times. It's not because I would say I'm naturally good at it. Dun, dun, dun. A couple of congratulations again in here. Thank you. Which chair do you have? I said chair. This is the Ergo Chair 2 from Autonomous. I think it's like the Ergo Chair 2 Pro now. But yeah, what's your opinion on Ben Awad? I mean, he's got great stuff. The one thing I think is really, really cool about him is he's able to, he's got a great personality, especially on TikTok. And in his videos. I want to do better about having the skit style stuff in my videos. I think that's super cool. He also has like products that he built. Like he sold the VS Code Tender or whatever it was, the programming tender, whatever the project was, which was super dope. So yeah, I think he's great. Florin with the congratulations. Florin, another channel people should check out. 100K, above 100K for Florin. He's been doing some awesome stuff recently. Why is purple the best color out there? It just is. That's what it is. Again, shout out to Shades of Purple VS Code theme from Modaways. Geo, RAM, thoughts on Google Analytics 4? Don't know. I don't know that. Geo, anyone asked about Svelte and Svelte Kit already? I don't think so. So, Hijabi Coder. Speaking of Supabase, is the project deleted if you don't use it for 7 days? The DB, that is. I'm not sure. Not that I know of. I wouldn't think so. That seems like it would be pretty silly. So I don't think so, but I don't know for certain. Love your 10 games and 10-hour video from Florin, definitely. Should I master one programming language and learn another, or learn 6 programming languages at once? I definitely wouldn't try to learn multiple languages at once. I would also change the word master to like you're probably never going to master. I would spend time with one language and framework at a time and then move on from there. I don't think the goal should be to master it. I would say like just getting comfortable building stuff is the goal, and then expand from there. Tell me, how is the stack? Gatsby, Strappy, Netlify functions, GraphQL, and FaunaDB. A question in there. I don't think you need Strappy and FaunaDB. Strappy is a headless CMS which has a database to it, so I don't know why you would need Strappy and FaunaDB. All of those are great technologies though. So like I can't tell you they work well together or not. Those are just great technologies that you can certainly use in your apps. Ilias, hi, what do you think of Flutter? What do you think will be the future? Flutter, I hear lots of good things about. I've never used it myself. I think it definitely seems to be growing in popularity, and I imagine it will continue to do that. So yeah, I think Flutter, from what I hear and see, is awesome, but I don't know much about it other than that. One language for 6 months or more, then try another one. Yeah, Kunal, I think that's good. I think that's good. Best 3. YouTube thing scrolls in such a weird way. Oh, there's Amy's in the chat. People should go check out Amy. She's here. Harsh, best 3 extensions of VS Code. Best 3. Live server extension is just like hands down one of the best. It makes it so easy to get up and running with a static project. Let me actually, y'all won't be able to see this, but just so I am actually like looking at something, let me run through here and tell you which one. I would say themes is like, I would group those into one. Like I definitely want to have the themes because those are just fun. Let's see what else I have. The file utils is pretty big for me. It helps give me shortcuts to do file manipulation. Let's see. Yeah, file utils is there. Git lens for Git stuff is huge. So that's 3 or 4. JavaScript snippets is nice. Yeah, so there's 3 or 4 that are pretty good. So React is purely for front end stuff. What's the difference of WordPress can do the same? Sorry, asking too many questions if you don't mind. Sure. Yeah, so React is purely front end. What's the difference if WordPress can do the same? WordPress uses a very different methodology of creating the front end. It also uses very different technologies. So if you have JavaScript experience, you're probably more likely to go the React route. If you have PHP experience, or if you have WordPress experience, WordPress might be a better fit for you. You can also do things, build like static sites if you use React and other technologies like Next and Gatsby to build faster, more secure websites than WordPress. There's some benefits there. You just get more control. Favorite written content creators? I would say I'm honestly not that great at being able to answer that question. Ali Spittle or Spittel, I'm not sure how she says her last name. She's always had really amazing stuff. Lori, is it Barth? I feel like I should know her last name. Lori would probably be upset if she were here. I don't know if she is. Her stuff has always been really good. So those are a couple that come to mind. I pay more attention to video stuff though. View is also pretty good. Yes. Musa says fun to watch your content. Thank you. Scrolling down. Is that a dog or a cat in back of you? Can I know what's his or her name? So that's Lily, and she is a dog. Node or Dino. I've never used Dino. I like the idea of TypeScript, even though I don't really use it much myself. So I would say Node in that case. From Andrés, muchos saludos desde Bolivia. Quería preguntar, ¿dónde puedo hacer un dashboard desde cero, pero con funcionalidad como Power BI, Figma, HTML, CSS? So the question is, greetings from Bolivia. Gracias por venir. I wanted to ask you a question. How would I do a dashboard from scratch with functionality like Power BI? There's a ton that goes into that answer. You probably want some sort of graphing library, something like D3 to do your graphs. There's tons of different ones that you can look for. You also probably want some sort of like real-time connection. So you could do a polling thing from the front end where you're constantly asking your back end for updated data, or you could set up WebSockets to be able to like stream that data from the server to the front end. You pick a framework that works for you: React, Angular, Vue, Svelte, whatever works there. Probably pick some sort of like CSS strategy. You could go with Bootstrap, you could do Tailwind, you could do styled components, whatever again makes sense for you. So there's lots of different ways to do that sort of stuff. You've got listed in there Next.js, HTML, CSS. You could definitely do that with Next.js and have a pretty cool thing going on. I think learning JS concepts like closures is something important, programming, or only for job interviews. So the interesting thing is I've never like writing JavaScript. I don't think about closures per se. Now there are a few examples where because of closures, I'm able to do something, and I know that. But I say I think it's worth understanding the language of JavaScript. Like I've watched content on the weird parts of JavaScript and that sort of stuff, and I really enjoy it. I think it's good to understand how it works. I don't think that's the difference maker of you being an awesome developer or not. But because it can be a question in your interviews, it's obviously nice to prepare for that. Maximilian, top 3 favorite foods. I love burgers. Such an American thing, but I love burgers. I love Mediterranean food. And I don't know what would, like I love Mediterranean food. Mexican food, I guess, in general would be after that. Like street tacos, like authentic Mexican street tacos are really, really awesome. How to make a proper web page layout. I'm not sure how to answer that. That's pretty generic. One thing I can add is semantic HTML, which is something I'm not that great at, but using like specific tags instead of just general div tags is helpful for being best practice for doing web pages. Flora and I have the same chair. Nice. Kiwa, how much time should you spend in vanilla JavaScript before? God, this chat is tough. I'm having a hard time keeping up. Before moving to a framework, there's no set thing. I would say like build tic-tac-toe and build rock, paper, scissors and a few other things in vanilla JavaScript. Get comfortable with that and then go on. Like however long that takes you is however long. Kunal started to make a YouTube video. It's like, why am I doing this? It's fun, especially as you settle into it. Shoebomb. I'm a full stack developer now. Should I go for DevOps certified courses or something else? What do you enjoy? What do you want to do? I think that's the much more important question. I don't know enough about you to give you specific advice. I would say pay attention to like what are you most interested in? What kind of job opportunities are you looking to get in? If you're looking to be a DevOps person, yeah, learn DevOps. If you're looking to make the most money as a developer, do research to see what skills make the most money. But I just focus on the things that you enjoy is what I recommend starting with. How long have I been a full stack dev? I started like officially doing software development back in 2016 at FedEx, and I did that for 3.5 years. Or maybe that's a question. Maybe that's a question for the full stack developer for Shoebomb. But anyway, there's my little bit of background. Chris Ellis is in the chat. What's up? Arjun, hola, ¿cómo estás? Great info, coder Chris. Thank you. From Ishak. What can we learn apart from web development? Mobile development, Flutter is pretty cool. Like Avnish says, you can do DevOps, you can do design, you can do lots of different things. Databases. You could build a SaaS, you could build a product, you could go into marketing, tech sales, that sort of stuff. Yeah, lots of different things. Thunder Client is one of Chris's favorite extensions. Yeah. Swastik just tried ImageKit. It's awesome. Your video on it made it super easy. Glad to hear it. Avnice live share, prettier React snippets. Yep. Lots of good ones. How do I handle fame? There's like I feel like most of us would say like, I'm not famous. And that's not me. And like to a certain point, that's true. But also there is like with having an audience, there is a certain amount of like, whatever you call it, fame that comes along with it. So how do I handle fame? Like there's not a whole lot that I do intentionally with me having an audience other than making sure that I provide value to people. So as I create content, I'm constantly looking at like, how are people responding to it? Likes versus dislikes, comments, things like that. I want to make sure that I'm still providing value to people. And like, again, it's not fame, it's just having an audience. Like I want to use that to help other people grow as well. So I try to promote other people's content. I try to comment on people's things on Twitter when I see them getting started in web development or creating content themselves. So I try to help inspire and like bring awareness to other awesome things that people are doing as well. So I try to use the fame, but I mean, just having an audience for that benefit. Gitlin's the most downloaded extension on VS Code. I did not know that. That's cool. Why are people comparing React and WordPress? Avnish, I think that was just the general question of being new to the space of web development and not understanding what the difference is. So I think that's a great question to have. Are you gonna do more Svelte tutorials? Yes, in theory. It's all about time for me. Yes, I want to. I'll tell you who you should check out for that. Who's going to be doing more and more of that stuff is Self Teach Me, Amy Dutton, who's hanging out in the chat. So she has been raving about Svelte, and I think she and maybe I are going to build out a course with Svelte. Am I getting too much? I leak a lot of insider information, so keep an eye out for that. But yes, more stuff to come. Want to learn programming? Your advice in any path. If you're just getting started, free code camp, free YouTube videos, take advantage of free resources before you spend any money. Make sure it's something that you enjoy, you could see yourself doing a little bit in the future. From there, you could progress to like buying courses from individual content creators. You could find them on different course platforms. My biggest piece of advice is like, make it personal, like build stuff. That's the best way you learn. So as you watch videos, just make sure you spend time building your own stuff. Play Store, how old are you? I'm curious. Like there's too big of a delay for me to wait for the answer, I think. But I was going to ask how old you thought I was, but I am 30. I just turned 30 in February. How far back did I go? There we go. When I discovered live server and React Redux extension, it changed my life. Yep. Would you like to design your own web framework, and what would it have? My own web framework? No, I don't think I don't think I have the skills for that, to be honest. Now, I would like to build a SaaS product of some sort. No idea what it would be, but something like that I would like to build. Blazor is taking over. Is that Zamthor like Miguel? I don't know if Zam is Zamthor and Miguel or not, but he's a big fan of that. Kunal, try to make learning path first. It will help in the long run. Arjun, you understand Spanish? Sí, yo puedo hablar, entender español. Yo puedo leer más que hablar. I would say I can read fluently and I speak fairly well, but I read much better than I speak. Just hybrid apps are getting better than native. I don't know that they're getting better. I would say they're to the point where it's very viable to build a performant hybrid app and not really and be able to use the technologies that you're more familiar with in JavaScript, for example, and not sacrifice as much of what you would have been sacrificing in the past. Svelte versus React. I've got a whole video on why I like Svelte. I don't spend the amount of time in Svelte that I do with React, so it's not a full comparison for me. I will say I like both, and there's things that I like specifically about Svelte as it grows and matures more so than React. Dockroot, congrats on the 100K. Thank you. How come you use so many different VS Code themes? Isn't it confusing switching between them? So the reason I do this is because on my Twitch streams, James Q Quick on Twitch, I let people dynamically change based on a redemption, the theme in my VS Code. That's why it changes all the time. I don't mind it. It's fine with me. The annoying thing, though, is people ask me all the time what theme I'm using, and I can't ever answer on YouTube because I can't remember what theme I used in that specific video. Kaloon or Kaloon, I know you love Next.js. Will SvelteKit be your next go-to framework? It's definitely a big option for me. Yes, more Svelte and SvelteKit stuff to come. Still love Next.js, obviously, but more of that stuff to come. Try Indian food, you'll go bananas. I've had a decent amount of Indian food that I do like. I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite. Will Johnson, Marvel or DC? So here's like I legit couldn't answer that question because I'm not aware on what falls into which category and have no opinion whatsoever. So I am not the person to be able to answer that type of question, which I feel like will probably make a lot of people upset. The superhero I connect most with is Batman though. Just because I feel like it's much more realistic for someone to have a lot of money and build these cool things than it is for someone to have these ridiculous powers. So I've always liked Batman for that. Plans this weekend, we're going golfing. I'm getting a massage Saturday morning, which I'm excited about. We'll record a podcast episode Sunday. Amy and I will, I think. And then I travel next week to go to KCDC for a conference. Typing speed, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I really don't know, to be honest. My throat hurts from talking. Ishak, what languages do you use currently? JavaScript. I don't use another language, to be honest. I've thought about looking at Go. I thought that would be fun. But so far, Flutter is one that I might look into. Dart, TypeScript is one I want to spend more time with, but JavaScript, basically. Maybe sometime you can practice your Spanish with me and you can explain to me dashboard with Next.js. Sure thing. Yeah. How much JavaScript does one need to know before starting to freelance? You can start to freelance with no JavaScript, depending on what sort of freelance opportunities you're looking for. If you're just building a static site, just kind of it may be mostly HTML, CSS, so you may not even need JavaScript. So I would say you can start sooner than later. The big piece of advice that people typically give is like, take on projects that you are not 100% sure how to do and use that as a learning opportunity. Jonas, thank you for the full stack serverless course. Awesome. I need to do more of that stuff and I just haven't. So I appreciate that feedback. Hopefully more stuff of that to come. Kiwa, what's your thought on Go? Haven't done much, heard good things, would be interested to look into it. Hello from Vietnam. Hello. Is not how you handle fame, is how you handle all the haters. That can be tough. Honestly, there's a lot of positive comments and there's also negative comments as well. I ignore most of them because they're so ridiculous. But some of them can be tough. So I mainly ignore. I try to, like, if people had feedback, I try to take that into account and see if there's something I need to improve on. Most of it is just useless people being trolls. Have you ever met a fan in real life? Like I've met at local stuff, and I've seen you on YouTube or something. I would really like, this would be really cool for me, is to be in an airport somewhere random and someone will walk up to me and be like, "You're James from YouTube." Like, that would be really cool. Selfishly, I think that would be dope. People who want to gosh, where was it? Advice for people who want to relocate to US or Europe as a developer from South Asia. I don't know that I can really help you out there, other than typical advice of like network, um, have projects that you can talk about in interviews and that sort of stuff. I just don't know any specifics about like actually relocating in that way. But search for companies that are in those places and search for in their job descriptions whether or not they offer relocation. Learn about securing a backend app. YouTubers normally don't cover that other than JWT or password encryption. Well, one thing you can do is check out the LCR YouTube channel. There's lots of content on that. The theme for us for the next 2 months is actually about protecting your backend app. So that would be a good place to look in the LCR channel. JWTs are a very common thing that people use for protecting their backend. So that was definitely a good thing to look into as well. What do you think about design course front end? I think you know Gary Simon. Gary's awesome. I remember watching his content like 5 years ago when I was getting started in web development, and he was one of the big people that I followed. So it's cool to be in a group with him. What do I think about design course front end? I mean, all the stuff that he does is amazing. So I think that's pretty short answer. What's the best programming language to learn? My preference is JavaScript, Python, and Python and JavaScript are super popular. I started with Java myself, but I would have preferred to start with JavaScript or Python. Need some 3D web pages. Do you think that is the next big thing, or do you think something else is? I don't know about 3D web pages. I don't know. I know nothing about 3D, so I couldn't tell you if that is like growing or not. Zach came in from Miguel. Let him know. Awesome. Glad you found it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Not my birthday now, but back in February. If that's what you're referring to, then thank you. Svelte course, please. Will buy, subscribe if I can afford it. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. How old was I when I started programming? I was in college. I was 18. Is there a possibility for a Svelte and Cloudflare Workers course? Probably not, because if I were to use Svelte, I would just use SvelteKit, and I would have those serverless functions running in SvelteKit anyway. So I wouldn't have to touch Cloudflare Workers. Refer to me a comprehensive tutorial on a banner slider to master CSS keyframes, zooming animation with caption text. I don't have one of those right offhand. YouTube does this ridiculous scroll thing where I can't just, like, it jumps me to the bottom all the time. What's your future look like in the next year? I don't like, hopefully more courses. That's the big thing for me. Like, the big goal this year was 100K. And with that, like, it's just a number, but with that is like so many learning opportunities of how to create content and how to get people interested in the content that you create. I don't know. I'm happy with my job. I'm happy with the work-life balance of working a full-time job that I love and also having my own thing in content. Financially, I'm happy where that works out. Like, I could potentially do content creation full-time, but I love having the stability of a paycheck and earning extra stuff on the side. So I don't know. Yeah, I'd like nothing too I don't think much changes for me in the next year. I think it's a lot of just continuing to get better at what I'm doing. Need to get into getting massages. Great for stress and health. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's one of my favorite things ever. At what point did I decide to create a YouTube channel? I said this earlier, starting at Microsoft, I was teaching workshops, and instead of teaching the same thing over and over again, I created videos that other people could refer to. So that's why I started. Wade from Cape Town, what's up? Do you have a preference between Next.js, Gatsby, Create, React app? Thanks. Next.js all the way. I used Gatsby for a long time. Next.js provides the same sort of functionality, so I'm not really sacrificing anything. And I've just been more excited about the Next.js ecosystem in addition to that. So Next.js all the way. Path for migrating from PHP to JavaScript with Node, Nest, React, Angular. Should I apply for entry-level jobs with JavaScript? Languages are really just languages. if like, I think focusing on core concepts are the most important part when learning. But migrating from PHP, like, yeah, I would take a look at front end framework in React, Angular, Vue, backend with Node, and building a couple of full stack projects, not huge projects, but just full stack projects to demonstrate that ability, and then apply from jobs from there. Absolutely. Could you tell us something about stale state in React? I I don't know. I mean, there's like the idea of like stale while validating, or stale but revalidate or something. I think it's the idea that like you just hold on to the information you have and just keep that until you get in new information. So like just kind of keep what you got, assume that it's stale, go and get new stuff. While you're loading the new stuff, you're still able to show what's already there, and then bring in the information on top of that, I guess. What's an Area 52? I don't know. Gavin says, congrats, James. Thank you. I appreciate that. Or says, so happy for you. Thank you. Do you prefer a separate server for the API and database and something like Next? I have approaches where people use Next as their only server. I would prefer to have them together. That's kind of the big benefit. If you end up having something else, then you're kind of making additional hops like network requests that may not be necessary, but there is the potential, like if you have some sort of use case for why the serverless functions in Next.js don't cut it, like don't meet functionality, then having that that other backend could be nice. The other thing is if you if you have multiple front ends that you want to access the same backend, then having a separate backend makes sense. So that would be another reason. Kunal, if I saw you in real life, I would run and take at least 50 pictures and put them on your resume saying met James Quick. Nice. I will be, if we ever meet, I will be ready for pictures. Is it a requirement to have a huge following for dev advocates? No, not at all. Like everybody starts somewhere. I think the requirement is the aptitude and desire to create content that teaches people, that helps people, and want to benefit the people in the community. I think that's the requirement. You may or may not build an audience along the way. Like if you look at developer advocates, they've got all sorts of sizes of audience. So it's absolutely not a requirement. Are there aliens in Area 51? Probably. I don't know. Building a site for an IT company of my friends that needs to track and drop invoices and shipments. And I just learned how to make and maintain databases in Mongo, but he doesn't know that. I don't know who he is. Is that me? I don't know that. But that's cool. That's awesome. I know Jason's been doing a lot of the Mongo training, which is pretty cool. Can you teach us hybrid app development? I'm actually working with Abnish, who maybe is still here, to do a video on using Next.js to build a PWA, which is kind of a hybrid app. So maybe that will help. How many dogs do I have? I have 2. We had 3 up until about a year ago. So we lost the older one, who was Padfoot, and we still have Lily and Sevi. Who wins in a fight, Batman versus the Ninja Turtles? First of all, Ninja Turtles are like literally my childhood. I would say Batman just because I think the gear, like I think he fights pretty well, but also the gear would be a huge difference maker. How different between callback, promise, and async await? Can you recommend one of them to me? I think understanding all of them is important. Understanding that promises are understanding asynchronous nature of JavaScript is important. I prefer promises to callbacks, but then async await is just extra syntax on top of promises, and I prefer that the most. So that's what I prefer. Age is 30. Time management, not so great. I keep a to-do list. I try to prioritize that and update that every day, but I'm not the best at it, to be honest. Are you married? Yes. My wife Jess is in the other room. She starting at Auth0 today or Monday when she gets her laptop set up, which is pretty cool. Cobalt 2 versus Winter is coming. Both awesome themes. Both you should check out. Have I received an email from YouTube regarding my silver play button? Not yet. I'm waiting, and I think I might have to proactively reach out from what I've heard. How was your change from Java developer to JS developer? Do you think a heavy type language like Java helped you? I think so. I think having the object-oriented programming, just having like a different methodology for programming was definitely helpful. So I think it's been great in my learning experience. It makes things like TypeScript not so intimidating to me because I know how strongly type languages work. React 18 versus 18. I don't know what to do with that. React 18 versus Next.js. I like Next.js will end up using React 18, I imagine. I don't know that that's like, I don't know. I don't know what to answer for that. Is it true, Dom? Is it true that DOM manipulation in JS is 80% of what web developer will be doing? Like web developer is a broad term. You could be a full stack web developer, and then you've got both sides. DOM, like HTML, CSS is a big part of it. So that's before doing any DOM manipulation. I would say making API requests of some sort is huge, but DOM manipulation is definitely a big part of it. Do you think you could beat the worst NBA player in one-on-one? Not even close. No. Do you like Space and Galaxy? Is that a movie or something? I'm not sure. If that's generically Space and Galaxy, then sure. How do I get linting for TOML? Check for a VS Code extension. I think there is like a TOML one. How important is Flux architecture? Is it widely adopted in companies? I don't know what Flux architecture is, to be honest. So I don't know. Hey, I'm catching up to the end of the chat. Wow. Phil, is MS Expression Web in it? I can run PHP files without having XAMPP installed. Why is this not available? Why is this not? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know about Microsoft products, those products. I don't know about Microsoft Expression. Gabriel, not sure. Hi James, I subbed 2 weeks ago. Yes. I'm learning to code. Which path recommended to beginners? Aim to full stack, web developer, specialized front end, then go to full stacks. Greetings from Argentina. Great teacher. First of all, gracias por seguir, for follow. I don't like, how do you say that in Spanish? I don't know. This is assuming if you're in Argentina that you speak Spanish. But anyway, so I recommend like working towards full stack. And I think regardless of, I think one, you need the experience to figure out which one of those things you enjoy more or both. Then also, I think having the experience on both sides opens you up to more job opportunities and also gives you more awareness, even if you only want to focus on one or the other. So I recommend people working towards learning full stack, building a few projects full stack, and then if you have a preference, you can go and choose from there. Greetings from Russia. Thank you for your videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but thank you. I appreciate that. What are all the programming languages you write? Like literally JavaScript right now. I've done a lot of Java in the past. I've done a tiny bit of Python. I've done some bash scripting, but mainly JavaScript. Learn by building. Yes. Dennis, tips for overcoming stage fright and thinking of content you want to publish. I want to create content for employees like me who want to shift careers to dev. Tips for overcoming stage fright is like more and more just forcing yourself to do it. There's like the idea of the Superman pose where you can stand up and like with your chest out and like take deep breaths to help calm and also like build confidence in yourself. And I think that actually does make a difference for me. Most of it just comes from, unfortunately, like the tough love answer is like you have to force yourself to do it and do it over and over again and just try to get better over time. Like I am a professional speaker now. When I was in college, I was like as terrible as anyone else at giving a presentation and I was terrified every time. But after the course of doing it 100 times, like now I'm much more confident. So I would say force yourself to get started, force yourself to create whatever that first thing is and just continue to create more from there. Gavin, do you remember me? You made a whole video about a comment I made regarding forgetting about for loops. Which comment was that? Was that, did I create the video because of your comment asking why I didn't use a for loop? I think is what it was. Thank you for that comment, by the way. That like, it's funny how I can have certain things in my head for a demo and then I go to record it and I change things and I forget why I had certain things in the first place. So that video was kind of funny where I literally just forgot a regular for loop. And it made for funny content after that. My voice is very low. Is it low for anybody else? I think it should be coming through. Okay, maybe check the audio output on your browser. All right, Dios, do you think Next.js is a good way to start with React, and what do you think of working in Next.js with TypeScript? The only reason I would say like start with create React app is I think more of the content, beginner React content is going to be focused on create React app and not Next.js. So for that reason, I would start with create React app and then move into Next.js. Trey Harness, what's your favorite purchase you made recently? We bought a Peloton, which is a very expensive purchase a few months ago, and it's turned out to be really incredible. I love the Peloton. What else have I bought recently? I do like gear stuff all the time. I just bought an Ember mug, which helps keep my coffee hot, even though I'm having trouble sinking it. But in theory, that's really cool. Yeah, that's a few things. I don't know what else I feel like I buy stuff all the time, and now I can't remember what I bought. I bought a new phone with a much better camera, and I was excited about that. Also bought a wallet thing that's magnetic that fits on the back of the phone, which I think is pretty cool. How did I get my first job? I applied in college and did interviews. So it was like they had career fairs in college. Milos is asking, when you say React 18 versus Next, I meant in terms of SSR. I don't know because I don't know. I know very little about the React server components thing. I imagine that stuff will be kind of merged into Next.js anyway. So I'm not sure. I can't answer that fully yet. What do you think about frameworks on top of Next.js? What frameworks are on top of Next.js? That I'm kind of curious about. Maybe like is Blitz or Redwood, are they built on top of Next? I'm not sure. Shoba, if want to sponsor you, how to contact you through Twitter or what? Yeah, you could do Twitter. That would be fine. When facing a problem, do you try to solve it on your own, or do you immediately look up answers or use libraries for something non-trivial? Yes, I try to solve it on my own, but I am pretty quick to go and do research and figure out what I need that I'm missing to solve that problem. So I think I do a lot of research. I'll use the library if I need to. I don't have any like hard and fast rules on when I do either one, but I'm definitely not scared to look for help. Favorite coding font? I use Cascadia Code, so that's been really nice. It's free from Microsoft. I also really like Dank Mono. It costs $40. I haven't paid for it yet, but I've always thought about doing that, so maybe one day. Philip, HTML, CSS are pretty good, and I've studied JavaScript syntax, but no idea how to apply it. Lots of tutorials, but not much hands-on. How-to suggestions, please. I've got a tutorial on build a quiz app with vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I've got a video on building tic-tac-toe with vanilla JavaScript. I think like all those, like building any small app with vanilla JavaScript is great practice. JavaScript 30 by Wes Boss is an amazing resource. I would also give a shout out to Amy Self Teach Me, who is working on, has she announced this publicly? A set of courses coming up for the month of December that will include JavaScript that I might be involved in. I'm giving like lots of teasers here. So where am I? Dennis, thank you very much for the advice. We'll be waiting for more content. Absolutely. Slim, you have become so much of a teacher in my life. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. Number of subscribers is totally a vanity number. What makes me excited is one, I enjoy it, and then I get to hear positive comments like that. So Lowdasher _ what is more actually now? I don't know. I haven't used either one in a long time. So I'm not sure, to be honest. What age did I start programming? 18 in college. IR, congrats on 100K. Love your videos. Thank you. Appreciate it. How many hours do I code daily? Not that many. A lot of my job now is around media. So I don't write a ton of code on my day-to-day job. And then the code I write outside of that is for personal projects, side projects, and for videos. So not a ton, maybe a couple hours a day, if that, to be honest. Jason asked, just wanted to take some time out and say thanks for the content. Congrats again. Gotta go. I appreciate that, Jason. Thanks for being here. See ya. iPhone or Android? I'm an iPhone guy. Dios, what do you think of ORMs in Node.js? I've been working with type ORM and some errors were nasty. I searched about other ORMs and found out they're really not good ones for Node. I like ORM is object relational mapper or mapping. It's an abstraction layer above a database. And I have been using Prisma recently and it's been awesome. So I love that. Which is better, Next or Gatsby? Which is better? Up to you. For me, I prefer Next. It feels more natural. It can do everything that Gatsby can, and it can do more things that Gatsby cannot, like server-side rendering. One hypothetical question: which will you choose? No internet or no code? Um, it'd be really hard to go without internet, so I would go with that one. What do you think about Angular? Angular is a great option. It's a fantastic framework. There's lots of benefits I think that come with it. There's lots of job opportunities depending on where you are. I would say like you couldn't go wrong with either one, but especially if there's more opportunities for you in one, I would invest more time there. Fear Code is a great font as well. Should have gone for Zwift. I can't even say that instead of Peloton. A lot more fun. I love the Peloton. So, which course would you recommend to learn Next.js? Wes Boss has one. James Perkins has one. Colby Fayok has a few different things on. Oh my gosh, on Egghead, I guess. I think yes. Scott Talinsky has some stuff on Next.js. So yeah, lots of really good ones out there. Spilling all the beans, yeah. Trey, would you rather have to fight a ferret the size of a horse or 50 ferrets? I feel like I'd rather fight the one because you can't, like, at least I could see it. I knew what I'm working with, like in one vision. I'd probably choose the one. You get most percentage of viewers from which country? So the top couple are USA, India, Germany, and UK, I believe. Any thought about Linux Vim? I use Vim occasionally. I use it a decent amount at my work at FedEx. I think it's nice. It's a good like skill to have in case you need to, but I'm not a Vim expert by any means. Lots of people use like VI on their day-to-day basis. I'm not there yet. How can we import WASM file WebAssembly and worker thread in React? I have no idea. Don't know. What's your thoughts on GraphQL? Would you use it a lot, or would you stick to REST as much as possible before going with GraphQL? I'm not a huge fan of GraphQL, just in the sense that like I don't really go out of my way to have it, but so many tools are set up to work with GraphQL that I would probably use GraphQL for the majority of things that I build going forward. And it's like I'm seeing more and more content around it, more adoption. So I think GraphQL is definitely a good bet. So I'll be spending more time there. Object-oriented programming versus functional programming. What do you prefer? I don't know that I have a preference. I also don't think that those things are like mutually exclusive of each other. I think you could still have object-oriented programming that uses components of functional programming. But I don't know that I have a preference, to be honest. AJ or Ajay, Angular, React for UI, or do you think anything better than this? Your opinion? Again, both awesome frameworks. Vue, Svelte, awesome frameworks as well. I think they can all do amazing things. And if you have a preference that works for you, that's great. I spend more time in React myself. Which front-end framework library, easy and fast to learn for backend developer, can you suggest? I think React is a great place to start because of how much content there is. I think Vue seems to be, people think, a little bit easier. So there's tons of good Vue content as well. So I would probably say React or Vue to get started. There's a lot of message retracted. I'm not sure. That's somebody like taking their own message away. I'm not sure. Gavin, which state are you from? I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. How to start learning JavaScript, free code camp, YouTube videos. Just try to build stuff as much as you can. Dios, what kind of patterns do you use to build the CSS of a web app so things don't get messy in the future? I've heard about BIM. Is that the way to go for a project? Again, lots of different answers here. I think having some sort of strategy of organization is really good. BIM being an example of a pattern or a strategy is great. So I think the most important thing is either for yourself or for your team, if you're working with a team, that you have some sort of expectations on how you organize your code as it grows. Milos, any thoughts on Svelte? Svelte is awesome. I would say Svelte would be a great language or compiler framework for people to learn first, except for the fact that there's not as much content around it, and there's not as many job opportunities. Other than that, I would probably recommend Svelte as the first thing that people learn from an ease of use perspective. Trey, have you ever looked up something by going back and watching old video of yours, like past James teaching current James? Yes. There's a few videos that I go back and refer back to. And I try to talk about that a lot just to reinforce for people that are learning to program. You can't memorize everything. You have to go back and look a lot. So yes, I've absolutely used my content for that. Say hello to Brazil for Gustavo. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. Can you do web development in JavaScript? You absolutely can. I'm not as much connected to game development as I used to, but you absolutely can. And game development is a lot of fun. So thoughts on Flutter? Did I use it in a project? I have not used it, but I hear it's really good. Is about all it comes down to. Shoba, can you write HTML5? Is that a question for me or for someone else? Oh, can you write HTML5 for game development maybe? Yes, you can. I don't have a specific framework or library to point you to, but you definitely can. Aditya, love your content. Thank you. I appreciate it. Phaser, yeah, Phaser 2D and 3JS for 3D games. Yeah, thanks for pointing those out. I've definitely heard of those. What was my biggest whoops in my career? We actually recorded a podcast called The Struggle Bus recently of things we've struggled with. I failed like interviews. I've not done well in conference talks and stuff like that. I would say one of the biggest ones was semi-recent where I published a video about async await in JavaScript. Somebody commented telling me I was wrong. I started thinking about that and like overthought it and thought that I was wrong at the time and recorded a video explaining that I was wrong and then realized I wasn't really wrong. So I took that video down and published a new video explaining in more detail like how the asynchronous nature of JavaScript works. So I think I was too quick to like want to take the feedback and acknowledge that I was wrong when I really wasn't. Like this person was getting super technical in wording and they were also wrong about some of the things they said. So that was a big misstep of mine of reacting too quickly, assuming I was wrong, which I probably shouldn't have, and then creating content around that, which I then took down. So that was a pretty big one. You think UK about to have a ladies winner in the US Open tennis? I really don't know much about tennis other than there was like two teenagers that are competing against each other in the next round, which is pretty cool. One of them I think is from the UK. Other than that, I have no idea. Who was your first subscriber? I mean, totally unknown. I have no idea. I don't even know how I would figure that out. Have I ever tried Go? I haven't, but I've heard good things. And like, if I were to try a new language, Go would definitely be one I would look at. How you big JSON file in Next.js if you want to show all the data in particular pages. I'm not sure exactly what the question is. But in theory, you could read the data in from a JSON file and then pass it into props for a component and with the get server side props, and you could display that way. Solid.js versus other, and I don't know anything about Solid.js, unfortunately. So I can't answer any Solid.js questions. I don't have 100K. I have 101 now subs. Yeah. I want to learn Android. Can you suggest me videos, playlists, or courses? I took from Rob Percival, I took his Android course on Udemy. I'm learning more and more that Udemy is not doing a great job of like protecting people's content and fighting piracy. So I will probably be recommending Udemy as a platform less. But that course by Rob Percival was Rob Percival. Is that right? Is that right? Hold on. Is that his last name? Rob. I think that's right. Rob Percival, Udemy. Yeah, so he's got an Android course. He's also got an iOS course. I took his Android course and learned a ton, so I would recommend doing that. What's the goal when you build a project, functionality or performance? I would much more focus on functionality versus performance. Like most of the side things that I do won't really have performance concerns because they won't be that big. And you can make performance changes if you need to. What's the future of Mering? So Mongo, Express, React, Node, and GraphQL. What's the future of it? Continue to be used in more places. I don't know. Like, I think, I would say just continue to grow. Those are all super popular options that I think people are going to use more and more. How to start in game development? I'm not I don't know that I have great advice for this. Construct 2 is a tool that I used to teach people how to get started, because you don't have to write code to start. It's like drag and drop, and that I think is pretty cool because you understand programming and game development concepts all in one. Is English my native language? Yes, it is. Have you ever done a delete without a where? I don't think so. What do you think about Windows subsystem for Linux? I tried it at some point. It didn't work that well for me. I haven't tried it recently. I've heard people use it and it's good. I've heard people use it and they kind of struggle with it. So I'm kind of sticking on Windows, or excuse me, on Mac. From the Nor, congrats on the 100K. Thank you. Piyush, congrats on 100K. Thank you. What direction to go after React? Again, I recommend people doing full stack development and learning front end and back end. I think it's good for your career opportunities and just your knowledge of how the web works. What do you think about 11T? I hear amazing things. I haven't tried it myself. I would like to do a tutorial on 11T at some point. What do you think of third world developers working from home in companies from first world countries in US? I'm not sure how to answer that question other than that's great if people have that's what remote working is all about, is opening up opportunities for people outside of a specific region. So in that sense, I think it's good. I'm not sure what other aspects of that you might be asking about. You've seen that I was expecting a mistake that cost someone money from Stony Eagle. I don't know that I've really cost. I don't know that I have a great answer for lost money or anything. Oh, the programming couple YouTube channel. What's up? Thanks for being here. Congrats. You're an inspiration for us. Thank you. Y'all are creating awesome content yourself, so keep that up too. Are you a fan of using PHP includes to speed up site-wide changes? So assuming you're using a PHP include to organize your code into different files and better structure your code, yes. I'm not a PHP person myself, so if you're asking for PHP specific stuff, I don't think I have anything. Piyush, favorite framework, React, Next.js, Felt-Kit is what I would say. Been working with Unity, it's good. Yeah, if you're getting serious about web development, that's definitely, game development, Unity is definitely the way to go. Since I learned Next, which can be used for full stack, I'm not using any other tech stack, which is making me feel like I'm repeating stuff and not learning anymore. What should I do next? I don't know that that's a problem as long as you can build the things that you want. Now you can start to experiment with other databases and setting up GraphQL, and you could change and just do a full Node Express GraphQL server instead of Next.js. If you just want the learning opportunity, so you could do that. Roberts, hey, what's going on? Deleted every video I made them again. I haven't done that. Is it worth learning PHP? PHP is an awesome option. WordPress is still incredibly popular. Yes, if that's what you want to do and there's job opportunities in your area or remote that you're looking for. But I would say especially if you have programming experience, learning another language should be some sort of strategic step to either something you want to learn or a step you want to take in your career or something like that. Paras, my question, how will you manage big JSON data to show particular recipe page? I try Next MDX and Next.js, but because too large when I run build, no throws. Interesting. It may not be able to actually parse in that JSON file. It may not be able to read the whole thing at a time. So you may be able to stream it, stream the data in instead of reading the whole file at one time. I'm not sure if that's actually going to solve your problem. Other than that, you could put those files into some sort of database and then read those. Do batch requests of reading from a database. So give me 100 at a time or something. Zorro, congrats. Thank you. I appreciate it. What would your advice be for landing first role as a junior front-end dev? Build projects. Just build projects, keep them simple, finish them, have them deployed somewhere for people to see and for you to talk about in your resume and your interviews. Hands down. Second thing is invest in community. Any Node.js playlist planned? I don't have anything planned. I haven't actually done much just Node.js in a while, but if you have any ideas, let me know. Muhad, YouTube income. I said this earlier, so 1,000 to 2,000 a month. I think I had 1 month that was 2,500 for YouTube ads, and then I have sponsored videos on top of that. So it just depends on how many and which ones I do in a given month. Memory error from Paras. Yeah, so you probably need to move that data to some sort of database, data store of some sort. Gavin, I'm using 11D for my portfolio site. It's great. Definitely would suggest you try it out. Thank you. I might. Do you use Markdown in Next.js? I haven't myself personally, but I could. I've used headless CMS options. I've done it in Gatsby, and it would be more or less the same. Have I used vidIQ? I use TubeBuddy instead of vidIQ. God, I'm gonna have to call this. Let's say about 5 more minutes, and I'll have to call it. So I'll answer as many questions as I can in the meantime. Which language for backend if working as full stack? I love JavaScript, so Node.js is a huge one for me. Python is another really big one. Tips for blogging. Keep it short, keep it simple. Use bullet points, use pictures, use code snippets. Keep it casual. It doesn't need to be super formal either. My secret is that I like Angular more than React. Yeah. I do like Angular, but I don't like it more than React. But that's also like if I just spent a ton of time in Angular, that could change. Do you use SWR? How can I put images in Markdown? I have used SWR. I've used React Query a little bit too. I would say like they're pretty cool. Like save you some boilerplate code and that sort of stuff. I don't like how to put images in Markdown. Typically, you include the link in the Markdown to the image. Then your image has to be hosted somewhere. It could be in your own repository. It could be hosted somewhere else. As a VS Code fan, did you ever wish VS Code was a native app? Being Electron app's a little slow. I've not really, to be honest, for what it is and being Electron, I think it works great. Do I like blimps? I don't know. They're okay. How to handle bigger projects on the web? I'm not really sure how to respond to that one either. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit. Firebase, Mongo, or Fauna, which one? I've spent time with Mongo. I've spent time with Fauna. I'm liking Supabase a lot, which is just Postgres behind the scenes. So I really like that. And then specifically using an ORM like Prisma, if you have a SQL database, Postgres database, and eventually a Mongo database, you can use Prisma as your ORM for all of those, which is pretty dope. So you could swap them out. Do you think your geographical location can prevent you from getting a decent remote job, even if you have the required experience? I'm not sure. I think it like if the job says fully remote and it doesn't specify a country or region, it shouldn't. But if it specifies a country, like it makes sense for people to be in the same time zone or similar time zone because it gets much more difficult to work with someone across the world. So it could impact that decision. It just depends on how the job posting is worded. Any tips for students that want to learn too much programming languages like web? Advantage of knowing too much in the business world. My biggest piece of advice is start with one thing, work on it for a while, and then move on to another. Don't try to do too much at one time. Lazy dog is breaking the sofa. He's in more of your videos. Yep. Yeah, she's in all of them. Thank you for the advice. Thanks, Zora, for being here. I appreciate it. If you create a system where a user customize colors on many elements to create their own theme, how would you tackle that? Global concept is enough. Create a system where users can customize colors on many elements. That's still pretty vague. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. One thing that makes theming in websites much easier, though, is using CSS variables. So you can dynamically change the CSS variables, then reference them throughout the rest of your application. That way, if you change them in JavaScript, it would, in theory, change where they're referenced all over. Can I deploy Next.js project in GitHub Pages? You could, only if you do a full static export. Otherwise, I don't think you could. Any advice for new software engineers that want to build a company? If I started 5 months ago and I want to do a startup, love your content. Thank you. Just start building stuff. Like that bit of feedback on my end is going to be pretty constant. Try to build something really small that's going to be useful and ship that, and then build on it and build up bigger things from there. So, most interesting project you've worked on? I don't know. There's one that I'm hoping to kind of get in a published state in the next week or so, is the JQQ memes project to let people create memes out of random images of me. That's been a lot of fun. A lot of cool technologies I'm working with in that. So that's been cool. What time will this live Q&A end? Like 2 minutes. Thoughts on TypeScript? Awesome. Haven't spent much time with it. Want to spend more time. Scared with CSS. How much CSS should I learn to get started with React? Fundamentals. So just build stuff. My recommendation is build stuff with vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Get comfortable with it, and then go from there. Use multi-threading and microservices together. I don't know. It depends on what you're trying to build, I think. I've been thinking to start content creation and blogging, level up my skills. What do you think about mixed general tech and programming, or should I choose specific niche? Just start creating stuff. You can then narrow in as people start to respond more or less to the content that you create, so you can make decisions later on. Advice to code faster: invest in shortcuts, invest in your editor, invest in snippets, and just write more code. Do you often change your desktop wallpaper? I like never change my wallpaper, actually. Do I have pets? Lily's in the back, Sevy's in the other room, so I have 2 dogs. Which is better in productivity, VS Code or Vim? I think if you master Vim, you could be faster with Vim than you would in just regular VS Code. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. Do I have an idea to start a SaaS? I don't have a specific idea, but I would love to start a SaaS at some point. That is definitely something I want to build. Sweet. Okay, I am at the end. I'm caught up in the chat. And I think that's been plenty of time. I really appreciate everybody hanging out, asking questions. Thank you for the congratulations. Hopefully I will get to interact with all of you much more in the future with more content. Yeah, I don't know if you have any last comments, throw them in the chat, but I like super cool experience for me to have built up an audience of 100,000 people. So sincerely, thank you all for any of the support that you've given, the kind words in the chat, watching videos, interacting on Twitter and Discord and that sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you again. I need to figure out where my stop streaming button is, and I will kill it. But one last thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. It's been a blast. Looking forward to creating much more amazing content. If you don't already, feel free to follow me on Twitter, on TikTok as well, James T. Quick. Podcast is Compressed FM with Self Teach Me, who was in and out of the chat today. So check us out there. Discord at learnbuildteach.com. Make sure to check that out. Otherwise, I will see you all in the YouTube space. Thank you one final time, and I will see you all.